wait. This is going to be fun.
Welcome to Off the Post, brought to you by Lights On Electric and Cover All Exteriors. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Anthony Mingione. And how are you?
Doing okay, Russ. Not feeling too creaky in the bones today. How about you?
Yeah, I'm glad you're not that grumpy today. And we have Michael Jello. Mike, how are you?
Hello, Sonny. I'm doing fine this fine morning. I need some cream of wheat, though.
We have our special guest, Julian McKenzie from The Athletic and the CJ podcast and the upcoming book, Black Aces. Congratulations. Welcome to the club. Hello, Julian.
Why did you say that so slow?
Because
hello,
it was like Seinfeld, like Newman. Remember the Newman? The way he would say,
"I'm Newman to you."
You're Newman.
What? What did I do?
He's not a mailman. Come on.
How am I Newman?
Because he called us grumpy. All right.
You know what? I guess as long as I'm not Kramer, I guess.
No, you're not Kramer. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get past that.
I'd rather not be Kramer.
So my first hard-hitting question for you is, are the Montreal Canadiens the best team in Canada?
Whoa. Are they the best team in Canada? I mean, they might have I haven't checked the standings since waking up this morning. They might have the best record in Canada, but
no, but I'm just asking you, your feeling is,
I'm not ready to crown them as the best team in Canada, like 9-10 games into a season at a time when the Edmonton Oilers are still the reigning Western Conference champions, and
they were. That's in the past.
Well, you say that's in the past, but this is a team that has also proven in the last 2 years it doesn't matter how they start; it's how you finish.
True.
Like it's awesome to see what the Montreal Canadiens are doing with the talent they have up front and guys like Cole Caulfield and Ivan Demidov. And it's actually funny I'm mentioning the Oilers, considering how their game with them went earlier in the week with some of the weird officiating that was going on.
Yeah.
But I also think it's good for the Canadiens just solely focusing on them with the way they've gone about their rebuild and the fact that they've gotten out of it so much faster than so many other teams, and they look like a competitive team. Are they ready to take that next step into being a true contender? I think this season will determine that in some way. But until they do that, Edmonton, Winnipeg, like those two, I mean, Toronto's looked really, I think, shaky to start off the year, but
shaky's being nice, yeah,
and fine, but like they might still have that respect at least to start off the year. Edmonton and Winnipeg, for me, like I think they'd have something to say about that, about anyone saying that the Canadiens are the best team in Canada. I think the Canadiens might have the best record of any Canadian team in Canada, and that's fine because they've had a really great start. But we're still getting through the first eighth of the season.
No, that's fair.
Julian, I mean, you have the scope of the whole NHL, but like I covered the Leafs for Hockey Hot Stove, and I covered the Sabres for the Hockey News, and you cover the Sens.
Nice.
And I mean, I think right now through the first, say, 3 weeks of the regular season, I think you have to rename the division the Average Atlantic, because really everybody is flawed. Everybody is average. I mean, Buffalo, they go 0-3, then they get red hot. Then I think they blow a game last night that they really should have won. Mm-hmm. And Ottawa, they came into Buffalo, and there's a reason why Merilainen hasn't played a game since, because he was an absolute sieve and cost Ottawa the game in Buffalo. And Allmark has played every other game since, but they've sort of bounced back after losing Brady Tkachuk, and they won. And that was a curb stomping over the Capitals last night.
Okay, I'll push back a little bit on the Merilainen thing.
Okay.
I'll maybe not push back, but I'll add more context.
Okay.
Because he didn't have that great of a camp. And you're right, he played that one Buffalo game, but it seems to me like this franchise still sees him as their number two. And you're right, like he's only played that one game, and then they sent him down in the minors as a way for him to get just his confidence back and also opportunities for him to play games. Remember, this is a guy who's still in his early 20s.
Yeah.
And they do not want that guy sitting for all that time not playing while Linus Ullmark gets the bulk of those starts, which, by the way, when you're on a $33 million contract and you're a franchise that's had all those goaltending problems, yeah, I get it. Linus Ullmark should be playing those games. But also, up until that Washington game and the Philly game, we'll even add that too, you could argue, I mean, not even argue, Linus Ullmark was not that great either. It's taken him time to get himself at that point too, where he's looked better and better. I think for goaltending, it's something that's going to have to solve itself out. I think the fact that Olmark's been playing a little bit better will help in that right direction. But considering the games that are coming up this week, off the top of my head, they have a game on Monday. It might be against Boston. Chicago's one of those games they got to. There's a Montreal game at the end of the week. Calgary, I think, is also – that's 4 games this week for this team. Maryland's bound to get at least one of those games off the back-to-back Monday to Tuesday. Like, I think the way the schedule has been set plays a role into why Maryland hasn't played as much as he has, as well as the fact that the start has not been as great for them as they would like. But I still think for Levi Maryland, he's shown so much promise through last year. I see the Sens at least sticking by him for a little bit longer. But if it doesn't get resolved, fine, you open that door where you say, hey, you get a veteran backstop. But I think there's still time for Levi Maryland to solve it.
And let me just add, because of the game last night, if Tom Wilson wanted to make himself more liked around the league, laying out Ridley Gregg is a way to do it. And
does that make him more likable, or is it just
no,
more just
it
like
doesn't.
Oh no!
Like, again, you're doing this through Michael's prism.
I want to say, like,
I just see one annoying player hitting another annoying player.
It's the enemy of my enemy is my friend type.
No,
But with the way hockey works, people love their team so much. You don't see it as like, man, I sure am glad Tom Wilson knocked out Ridley Gregg. It's wow, these two jokers.
But I was going to say,
like, I don't care.
For the Senators, the response that you saw after that, the Clevin thing on Ryan Leonard, Allmark going the other end of the ice against Charlie Lindgren. I mean, that's team building. That's something I think that in the end is a positive for the Sens.
Yeah, I will say
Absolutely
this. Ridley Gregg, we just watched him the other day here in Philly. He's a hell of a penalty killer, man. Very effective.
Yeah,
dude, Ridley Gregg as a middle six guy who can play center if you need him to, if not on the wing, can be that annoying grinder, forechecking type.
Yep.
Has some offense in his game too. Like, I think he's the type. When you think of functional toughness, I know he's not the biggest guy. That's a guy you want on your team. So many teams around the league are looking for that functional toughness. And like Travis Green has said at different points before, like, functional toughness doesn't just mean like fighting a guy and punching him up and anything. It's just being tough. And Ridley Gregg is a guy who can do that, even if he's not the big ticket attraction compared to a guy like Brady Tkachuk. I think he fits so well on this team that embraces versatility as a strength for them with the guys that they're able to place at center and wing. Ridley Gregg fits great on that team.
Julian, just kind of spinning out from kind of what we were discussing with Greg in the middle six. Overall, I mean, watching the Senators up close, obviously, and me watching the game against Philadelphia, I was, they took a quick shot in the face in that first game and really tightened things up in the neutral zone. Their 5-on-5 play has been really, really good. What is it that you've seen so far in the early season with regards to the Senators' sort of even strength comportment? Because I was pretty impressed with what I saw.
I would go so far as to say that, like, their 5-on-5 has been pretty good since the start of the year. It's just that their special teams just weren't good enough. Like, even those first few games against Tampa and Florida at 5-on-5, they looked good. It's just that their penalty kill has been so bad. I think entering last night, it was like the worst in the league. It cost them games. Like, they allowed like 3 power play goals against Florida in that second game. 2 of the goal, I think the 2 goals that Tampa scored in that first game were on the power play. Or maybe I'm misremembering the score, but the power play was so bad. So the penalty kill was so bad. It kind of made the Sens look a little weird to start off their year. But I think in terms of 5-on-5, in terms of the fact that they've been able to limit chances against, they've been able to find ways to generate chances at 5-on-5 and do their best to take away the middle of the ice when they can. I think that's a positive for this team. And when I think of how this week has gone for them, not just at 5-on-5, but overall, but 5-on-5 has to be focused on here. They wanted at the beginning of the week to rebuild their identity. They had a whole players team meeting where they discussed that and wanted to get back to playing quick and being tough to play against. And for them to go from that Edmonton game where again they looked pretty good at 5-on-5, it's just their penalty kill just wasn't there. I mean, when you're up against a power play like what the Oilers have, everyone's going to be in tough. But then you improve on that against a team like Philly where you grind it out and you win 2-1. A win is a win, but that looks a little bit closer to what we expect from this team. And then Washington, that's an all-out domination. I've only been around the team for about a year and a bit. That's as dominant of a win as I've seen from this Senators team since I've joined the beat. The fact that from moment one, they were able to get chances on net. The fact that for about a period and a half, like they limited Washington to like 3 shots on net. They had more goals than shots by the Caps at one point in the game. Like, I think for this Sens team, the least of their worries is the play they're able to generate at 5-on-5. And the fact that they're able to do that without Brady Tkachuk in tow, any opportunity they get wins from here on out until he comes back, that's a win for them.
Julian, let's talk a little bit more about the Sens. I want to know, how does the Dylan Cousins trade look now?
I mean,
there's an APB out on Steve Staios in Western New York right now. Are you kidding me?
That's
but Julian, I want you to answer this. But let me put it from my perspective. That deal is so insanely bad, and it's not because Josh Norris isn't talented, because he is. He's extremely talented, but we know how injured he's been his entire career. And on top of the fact that they traded a healthy but underachieving Dylan Cousins in that deal, they gave a 2nd-round pick on top of it. And then they get Josh Norris, who after 3 games, they shut down for the season, and he plays 2 periods, and he gets injured again, and he's out probably for 3 months. And the other guy in the deal, Jacob Bernard-Docker, is playing defense for the Detroit Red Wings. So, yeah, I'm sorry.
Michael has thoughts.
Steve Staios should be arrested as soon as he crosses the bridge. No, I mean, for highway robbery.
Michael always just goes to that.
There's no doubt the Senators have won this trade. Like, for me, I still can't believe Buffalo gave away that 2nd-round pick. I mean, Buffalo might end up being. We'll see how they finish at the end of the year. But the fact that
one of the worst trades in the last decade.
It's the 33rd pick overall if they win the lottery.
The only thing right now that almost is looking is almost looking as bad is speaking of a Buffalo adjacent thing, Danny Briere acquiring Trevor Zegras, who has 8 points in his opening 8 games of the season. And I'm not sure how Ryan Paling's doing so far, but I got to check in on him with Anaheim so far.
Trevor Zegras, good for him that he's able to get his game going. Yeah. The fact that I still think there's something in him in terms of the skill that he's shown in this league and the potential that's there. He just needs to be in a good situation where they're trying to win. I think that'll help. But to go back to the Dylan Cousins trade, I get the underlyings defensively with Dylan Cousins have not been great. Like, you look at natural stat trick, like, I'm not saying bad. I mean, like, if you look at guys who have played like 7 and 9 games, Dylan Cousins is at the bottom for a lot of percentages because of his defense. But the fact that he's turned himself into a point per game player, he has 9 points in 9 games. Last year, it took him like 23 games to get to 9 points with the Buffalo Sabres. He fits well in their top 6. He's able to play with guys like Drake Batherson and David Perron. They had him a couple games on that first line. Travis Green said, you know what, maybe we shouldn't have it with Tim Stützle and Batherson. But the fact that he was able to at least produce in some way with those guys, I don't know. I think offensively speaking for Dylan Cousins, that's a home run trade for Steve Staios. Maybe you could look at some of the other moves and be like, maybe there's some. I don't even know how big of misses he's had. Maybe look at the Fabian Zetterlund move as the biggest miss right now. But the Dylan Cousins trade, for me, the fact that you're able to solidify your center depth and have Stützle, Pinto, and Cousins there, especially with the offense that he's providing right now, that's a big win. I still can't believe on the side of Buffalo, though, Jacob Bernard-Docker not being retained after that trade.
That made no sense.
I'm still surprised at that. Like, you get like a young defenseman who at least maybe
and a right-handed defenseman too.
Yeah, like I'm surprised that they didn't keep.
And then you end up making the Peterka trade to cover for that.
No. They see Kesselring, and I think it's wrong, as a top 4 defenseman. The deal that was made to cover it is getting rid of Connor Clifton's contract to bring in Connor Timmins, who has played well so far, but Connor Timmins has never stayed healthy.
We know the playbook for Connor Timmins.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a 6'7" at best. Like, I'll say this, like for Josh Norris, when he's healthy, he is such a talented, capable player who could play at both ends. I don't know if I've ever felt worse for an athlete I've ever covered in my life more than Josh Norris. Because this is a guy who was a big part of that Sens core that was coming up. And it looks like they're about to make the playoffs for the first time in that core's like tenure. And just as he's on the cusp of that happening, he gets shipped to Buffalo, where like not only for him, it's an emotional time. Brady Tkachuk was crying about it when we were asking questions about it. I'm not being like mean when I say that. Like, this is someone he grew up with. This is a friend of his. That's like this is someone who's still close with a lot of those guys in that room. And not only does he have to go to a whole new team that has its own playoff drought to deal with, the injuries just coming up for him. Like that's tough. That's such
I'll
a
give you a
tough
player
situation
that it reminds me of that I got to know a little bit. Greg Oden.
Jeez.
How'd you get to know Greg Oden?
Just because we got invited to a couple of events he was at. Really personable kid. I was like, man, I'm rooting for this guy. You know, we went to a game. We sat near the court. All that stuff was great. And I'm like, man, this guy's the real deal. Good for this guy. And he just could never stay healthy.
Yeah, never stayed healthy. You guys remember who got drafted after him?
No.
Second overall, still in the league.
I know it's a star.
Mitchell. Was it Donovan Mitchell?
No,
it wasn't Mitchell.
No, it's a star. It's a star.
It's definitely a star player. It was right after.
This is like Sam Bowie, but
basketball is not my forte. So go ahead.
A guy by the name of Kevin Durant.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That guy,
he was skinny though. Kevin Durant was skinny.
He might have a career.
Man. He eyed for himself.
Yeah. Dude, going along the lines of my average Atlantic theory right now. Russ is going to beat me over the head with the Maple Leafs after we let you go. But the Tampa Bay Lightning, I picked them to win the Atlantic Division. And I didn't calculate one thing in that, is that Andrei Vasilevsky might be done.
Yeah.
And honestly, through 8 games, when Jonas Johansson is out goaltending you, and you played 1 game in the preseason probably because of his wonky back.
Yeah.
And his, I'm starting to doubt whether the Tampa Bay dynasty is over with, because I think if Vasilevsky is still a top goaltender, that team is a force to reckon with in the East. If he's not, I think they're done.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We look at the Tampa Bay Lightning the last few years where when's the last time they made a really deep run? I know it's been maybe 3 years, but like we've been so immersed in the Florida Panthers burgeoning dynasty that like that 2022 Cup final, last time they were in the Cup final against Colorado, like it's so far back in people's memories.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like the fact that Andrei Vasilevsky has not been healthy, the fact that he was very limited in preseason, there should have been more question marks around them. But the thing with Tampa is that we just kind of expect that they'll figure out a way to make it work just because of the pieces that they've accumulated on offense and on defense as well. Victor Hedman's still an effective player at the back end. They've just found ways to make it work in that Atlantic. But the fact that I was still surprised the way they lost that first game against Ottawa, where they had that lead and then they were unable to hold on to it. Like that's not what I normally expect from a John Cooper coach team.
But he's only there. I think we need to point out Cooper's only there for 1 more year under contract. And I do think all of this looks like it's caving in.
Yeah, when you have JJ Mosier as your number 3 defenseman, that's why you can't hold on. Yeah. The days of having Sergachev and the days of having, with Cernak playing on your bottom pairing.
They burned through their assets.
Yeah.
It's just a different. And honestly, I mean, I know Stamkos his availability was always in question, but you always felt like that was sort of one of the core identity pieces for them. And him exiting, and you saw some other players, you had Kucherov and everybody else there, but I felt like their identity was so kind of intrinsic with Steven Stamkos that, I don't want to put too much on that, but there's this feeling to me that when he left, something started to be missing with regards to the Tampa Bay.
He's not making them regret.
No, he's not. But it's just
kind of like the more to them than other teams.
Right.
It's a little bit by a little bit.
But also, if your number one goaltender, Andre Vasilevsky, who's been one of the best goaltenders of the last decade,
Right.
isn't playing at a high enough level or is not healthy enough to play, we talk about transit. Like, at some point, there will be a transition of power in the so-called average Atlantic. A team like Montreal could take advantage. Buffalo's been knocking on the door. Ottawa's been knocking on the door to be in that top 3. A team like a Tampa Bay has to fall.
Yep.
I just don't think we were all ready for it to. And there's still time left in the season, but I don't think we're ready for Tampa to fall quite yet, because you're right. Like, so many people counted on them to be a top team in that division, maybe even win the division with the team that they have.
Yeah. Julian, I'm obviously very, very excited for you. I know you've got a book coming out here in early February. We're very excited. I remember when you put the announcement out about your book, Black Aces. So could you tell us a little more about what went into the creation of the book?
Yeah. As of today, I don't know when this podcast is going to be out. It's going to be 100 days until that book comes out. So
it'll be out before then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
I expect an autographed copy, Julian.
Yeah, I'm ordering Sharpie pens as we speak off Amazon. I know my wrist is going to get a lot of work next year. I thought it would be a cool idea to write a series of profiles on some Black hockey players and personalities throughout the history of the game. That I think would be fair to characterize them as trailblazers for what they're doing. It's been really fun to see people get excited about it. This is like 2 years worth of work that I've been able to put together, and I'm really excited for people to read it. I'm really excited for people to read the profiles I've written and read about the players that are mentioned. And I'm also just as excited about people who keep messaging me being like, hey, is this person in the book? Is this person in the book? Because even if not every single player is mentioned in Black Aces, like Val James, for example, gets a mention in a Tony McKegney chapter.
Yeah. I'm glad McKegney's in there. I tried
to mention as many players as I could, but there's a bunch of guys I know for sure. I wish I would have given them a chapter 2 or mentioned them in some way. But what I'm excited about with that is if it means people will take the time to do research on their own and look for those stories themselves and have a better understanding that as white of a sport as hockey is, Black people have been such a great part, an integral part of the sport being a thing since its genesis. I think that's all the better. I've chosen to welcome that as a super cool thing, but also the people who are in the book, getting time with Jerome McGinley and asking him about his life and career is super cool. Getting people to talk to me about PK Subban, and also as someone who grew up a Canadiens fan and watched him, that was super special to put that chapter together. Making sure there were chapters on people like Sarah Nurse and Angela James. I think those two people are very important for a project like this, or Anson Carter or George Laraque. I consider it to be really cool work, and it's not lost on me that there are so many other people in hockey media, like a William Douglas, who does great work for NHL.com. He could have easily done this project. He could have asked David Amber, who is so great on Sportsnet hockey, to do this project, right? But it's not lost on me that I got the opportunity to put this together, and I'm grateful that people are excited about it. And I hope people pre-order or buy the book wherever they want to buy the book, whether it's Amazon, Indigo, Walmart. I don't care. Just buy the book. You know what I'm saying? I'm really happy people are excited about it.
Julian, all I'll say is Tony McKegney was one of my favorite players growing up. But when he was on the line with Derek Smith and Danny Gare with the Sabres back in the early 80s, before Gare was traded to Detroit. And my fondest memory of Val James was beating the shit out of Terry O'Reilly in a Buffalo Boston game. It was. You know what's funny?
You say that exactly the way you did. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how Tony McKegney said it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's exactly how he described it.
There's
actually because Val did that. It was a funny story Tony told me about that, where obviously he sees that happen. He's like, holy crap, he destroyed him and everything. And there was a game the following season in Boston, and there was a guy working at the arena who looks at Tony. He's he thinks he knows him. He thinks he recognizes him. He's like, yeah, like I think I know who you are. He's like, yeah, and he's like, you're the guy who beat the shit out of Terry Riley last year. Like, it was like such a wild story, but like I had to mention that even though it was like Tony's chapter, like there is a section on Val James, and even if his impact in the NHL was small, it was still worth mentioning him in some capacity.
And he played for the Leafs after that. So
yeah, listen, he had a great year with the Rangers. I never understood why the Rangers got rid of him or didn't re-sign him, and then he's had 40 goals the year after. He had 29 with the Rangers. Like, he was tremendous.
Well, Tony's a special player. Yeah,
he got traded in the most infamous Buffalo deal in the 80s. They traded him along with JF Sauve to the Nordiques for Real Cloutier, who was living in a bottle for a couple years in Buffalo, and he was part of those Quebec teams that were really good in the early 80s. So yeah, he was a good player, very good player.
Yeah, he was part. I mean, he didn't actually fight anyone, but he was in that.
The big brawl in Montreal.
The Good Friday Massacre. And then after that, like, they were cleaning out their lockers, the Nordiques, because they lost the series, and they were eating pizza with, like, Van Halen. Like, stories like that were, like, super cool. Like, I loved being able to put those stories together and to put together in a project like this. So I'm really excited about it. And, 100 days. I'm really excited. As you can tell, 100 days from now, I'm going to be officially a published author. So
we look forward to it.
Well, congrats, and we're going to be very happy about that and not grumpy. And thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And I'll make sure I autograph your copies.
Oh, appreciate it, Julia. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian.
Have a good one.
All right, let's talk about the Leafs, Mike.
Yes.
So, I watched a fair amount of the first game against Buffalo. Couldn't watch a lot yesterday, but tracked it.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with them is I agree with you that there's a settling process coming in without Marner. But I also think that Treliving didn't build the best roster here, because there was all this discussion that, hey, without Mitch Marner, there's extra money. We don't have to – there's allocation that could go on here. We could build a better roster. And I feel like Treliving – like, again, you got Domi, who's really failing. I mean, Domi looks awful. You got guys like Philippe Myers still in there, which I don't know why he even gets to play.
Well, Russ, the reason Philippe Myers is in there is because Tanev is hurt.
But I know, but he shouldn't even be playing. He's played 2 games. They don't have anybody better.
Russ, they don't. Okay, he's their number 7D right now. Okay, Tanev got hurt in that game that you watched in Buffalo on Friday, which I think everybody when they saw that Riley was going to be out, that they had the defensive pairing of Dakota Mermis and Philippe Myers, which cost them 2 goals, and Myers was on the ice for 3 of them. That cost them the game. But you can't expect.
And Yarncroke looks past it, to be honest.
Actually, he's been one of their better forwards. I mean, he maybe didn't have a great game, but as a fourth liner, he's got 3 goals as a fourth liner. I mean, the issue here is, and I'm sure you know this from covering the Flyers, Craig Berube sometimes doesn't have answers, and his answers are sort of like it's the same answers that Lindy Ruff has. Gee, if it's not working, let's throw everything in a blender. Let's put Matthews and Nylander together.
I'll go full Goonies here, like Monfratelli. Hit puree.
Yeah, let's shake up all 4 lines, and it's like, okay, that doesn't work anymore. It really doesn't.
No.
And so I mean, in Buffalo, it was a 2-2 game, and but here's the thing, and maybe they weren't in a position to do different, and I've been saying all along, at the end of the game, and I wasn't in the Leaf locker room, I was covering the Sabres for Hockey News. The Leaf reporters afterward told me Anthony Stolarz had bags of ice on both of his knees. Okay, and that's because he'd played 7 of the first 8 games. Maybe you should have played your backup a little more, and maybe you're
like Grant Park back in the day.
Right. So exactly. So and then yesterday they call up Dennis Hildeby so Anthony Stolarz could get rest. Like he didn't even have to. I mean, okay, if it's that bad, now they're fortunate that Joseph Wall is back.
I want to point this out. Craig Berube did this in Philly too, where he would overplay a goalie.
Right. Played right, exactly. And the thing is, and he did this at the beginning of last year. He overplayed Stolarz, and I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that did not contribute to his knee injury, which I think was in December, and he missed 2 months. So he's clearly he
did it too in St. Louis too a bit with Bennington as well. When he gets on with a guy, he rides that guy.
Right, but Anthony. Bennington is somebody you can ride. Bennington's a number one goaltender. At the time when he did it, he had just been called up to the AHL. But in this instance, we know what Stolarz is. He's a very good tandem goalie or a backup. He is not a number one. His numbers have fallen since he's been played heavily. Now it's going to take Wall a couple weeks to sort of get back into shape, play a couple conditioning stint games, and then they'll have their goalies back. Their defense, Tanev is supposed to be probably out a week or so. Riley played last night. I mean, but the point that Russ made, they didn't get a replacement for Marner. They were trying to get a replacement in the top six. That's going to be the target. They do have cap space. They have the ability to go out before the deadline and get as a veteran, maybe a rental. But I think they would love to have something that's a longer term replacement. But I think that it's going to take the first quarter of the season. I have Leaf fans in my life, friends of mine, my brother, who are texting, this team is done. They suck. Okay, when I'm the voice of reason here, folks, something's friggin' wrong. Because I'm like, look at this team, give it to American Thanksgiving. If they're still playing like crap, then it's time to panic. But right now is not the time to panic. I'm sorry.
No, that's fair. And we'll talk about the Flyers here. Not the cleanest game yesterday.
But it's like I said. I mean, if you're below 10 games for the start of the season, I don't expect clean in the National Hockey League.
And that's fine. I mean, it was a really good game for Trevor Zegras because, and I did post in the chat room, and I'll make it available to everybody. I said this year, if he is not a center, which right now he's not, he has to be a point a game player, and right now he is.
He is, exactly. And I think that he's still going to be getting those opportunities. You saw him getting sprinkled in at center on some shifts with Nikita Grabenkin and with Matvei Michkov. And that's kind of, I think, these are kind of isolated shifts here where I think Tocchet is kind of getting a bead. It's very obvious coming into the season, once they got to the first few games, that when they made the switch, I mean, we say hybrid, but it's like 90% left wing, 10% center. Now, as the season goes on, and maybe Zegras is given a little, if Zegras is giving you those points, Tocchet can start to intersperse him a little bit more. But I really think right now with Zegras is they want him with, and I said this to you before, they want him with Christian Dvorak. And I know he talked a lot about, hey, I'm getting as many pointers as possible as I can from Sean Couturier. Sean Couturier is 6'4". His face-off technique, he has to watch what Dvorak does.
Yeah.
This is really, it's an in-game kind of, to me, it reads as an in-game classroom for him. So he could still play comfortably in focusing on the offensive game, but also, instinctually watching what Dvorak does. And then if he gets continued shifts as a center, to apply those things consistently. But it's obvious that they could not. Tocchet got to the point where he says, I can't keep him in the deep end of the pool at center. It's just not happening early on. He's getting draws are one of the biggest problems for sure. So if he continues to provide those point totals, he'll continue to buy, I think, additional time to play at center.
Anthony, I did enjoy watching a little bit of the Islanders-Flyers game yesterday, seeing Garnet Hathaway and Nikita Grabenkin stirring it up with the Islanders, and Scott Mayfield, who seemed to have lost his shit. I mean, I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw them going nuts.
What was later? He had the earlier fight.
Hathaway
had the fight with Mayfield earlier, and he bloodied Mayfield.
I want to point that out, though. Mayfield was doing the right thing. Hathaway, that was a borderline charge. And Mayfield jumped in, and that's why it happened. It wasn't
exactly. But I certainly think for the remainder of that game, Mayfield was playing with a little red mist. I think he
Yes.
was ticked off, and it was a little easier for him. And that's what he does, though. Mayfield. He's going to engage in that regard.
Yeah.
I was actually very impressed by the fourth line for the Flyers yesterday.
That was probably their best game.
That was their best game, and Obels again you've got some. The thing is, you've got size on that line. So if your fourth line is going to be like that, especially with Grabenkin on the left, who's going to be stirring things up and getting the. And Grabenkin, he's going to be the classic. He's going to start games on fourth line, but if he's playing good and Tocchet decides he needs to shift off someone who's not skating, Grabenkin's going to be the guy who's going to end up probably getting further in the lineup. But Obels I thought had a particularly good game. He nearly ended. I mean, the play he made at the end of the game, at the end of regulation, where he gets behind Mayfield, gets in front, reaches, and gets the pass to Hathaway, and he gets that last second chance on Sorokin.
Yeah.
Which again kind of recovered for a period that I thought, for as much as the Flyers rallied behind, I thought the third period the Islanders actually were. Once it got to 3-3, the Islanders were kind of taking it a little bit to Philly in the third to try to win it. So that would have been a real heartbreaker, I think, for the Islanders if that fourth line puts a goal in.
Oh yeah,
as time was expiring.
And then I'm going to do a quick Ranger report. This is not hyperbole. Right now, at this point in the season, like out in overtime, Matthew Schaefer was the best defenseman in overtime. Like you couldn't even get the puck past him.
Two chances. I mean,
it was
if
crazy.
it wasn't for Urson, it was an interesting game because Urson started the game kind of okay. He gave up. I looked at it again, and that second goal, he probably was one that I originally wrote in my article that it wasn't really any goals I could pin on him. And as I'm watching
the second one wasn't great.
Second one you could probably put a bit like a 50-50, but a little bit more on him. But if it wasn't for Urson, I mean, Schaefer's a star. We can see it.
Well,
and especially you get the 3-on-3.
That's what I'm saying. The 3-on-3, you couldn't even get past them.
Russ, I mean, there's already talk. There's basically talk of him. This is like Drew Doughty 2.0, where he could be in the mix for the Canadian Olympic team.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's a little.
I think it's a little too soon for that.
I did write about Macklin Celebrini on Sportsology, though. I think he should make the Canadian Olympic team.
Oh, he's early. Oh, yeah, early.
I don't think there's a question even about him anymore.
No.
Yeah. So, But yeah, so the one thing I was going to bring up about the Rangers is, I brought them up as a bubble team to start the year. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a lot of faith in their defense and their bottom six. I still don't. And right now they're sitting at the bottom of the division. They're playing poorly at home. They've scored a few more goals at home, but they just the fans can see it. They have put together a cast of stars and then a cast of fill-ins. And it's hard in this league to kind of go with that. Now, Shesterkin's playing really good hockey, probably better than last year. And I don't know. I don't see a lot of greatness out of the Rangers. I don't even see a playoff spot, really.
It's one of those weird situations where they play a game and they lose it 1-0, or they lose it 1-0 and then give up a couple empty net goals like they did against Pittsburgh in the opener. And then when they open it up and score 5 goals, San Jose scores 6.
Right.
So, and I look at it here.
Players always, just like Mike likes to say, that players like to play the Leafs and ratchet it up and like they're playing the Stanley Cup. Great players have always walked into Madison Square Garden and always tried to have like a signature game and celebrate. He did, man.
Right. And, and you've got Taylor Radish, who scored 4 goals for it. He's leading your team in goal scoring.
Yeah,
that's a statement there.
Yeah, if that continues, once you get past 10 games, and I mean, I'm going to have an upcoming. I always use 10 games as the initial sort of
that's a good
barometer of where things are with certain questions. That's concerning for sure.
Well, here's an interesting thing. I don't believe in this take, but it's out there. Like Dan Hughes is doing a great job with the Penguins. Now, we all knew he was like a defensive specialist coach. We knew that because he was with Nashville with the U.S. program. Like you could see that's what he was good at. And look, the Penguins still have those offensive defensemen and a few stars that can still bring it. And even Ben Kindle has brought something to the lineup. I don't know if he stays in. But now there's this talk like, well, Dan Hughes has a better handle on defense than Mike Sullivan. It's like, listen, Mike Sullivan has been dealt a bad hand with that defense. Like there's only so much he could do. Now the kind of Sherry stuff, sure, maybe that was a mistake. But, you
always get that one. I always say this whenever you get a new coach, you always get that one player who's sort of a whisperer of the system. like we saw when Tortorella came here and they acquired and they traded obviously for Cam Atkinson.
Yeah.
That was to me the who's going to be the Torts whisperer. This is the Coop whisperer to the rest of the Penguins lineup. But again, production wise, it's just Connor Sheary is who he is at this point.
Yeah.
And just briefly on the Sabres, you know, they put the positive spin on it yesterday. Well, we got 3 out of 4 points against Toronto, and yes, they did. But I think that they were leading 3-2 in the third period, gave up a Dakota Joshua goal, and Russ, the goaltending scenario is hilarious here because they were supposed to start Colton Ellis. They sent Colton Ellis to Toronto the day before to be the starter on Saturday, and he woke up with a tight back. So they had to put Luukkonen in there.
He's another guy. Colton Ellis always had the ability, but something has always held him back.
Right. So, you know, they played Luukkonen. I didn't think Luukkonen was particularly sharp. I mean, obviously it was his first start in the NHL since last season. But, you know, this is a 3 goaltender thing that is going to be sticking around because they don't want to lose Ellis. They like him. And I said to somebody at the rink on Friday, how do you think Devin Levi feels?
Oh, he's gone. There's no way.
How do you think
be included in the trade?
Yeah. How do you think Devin Lee, if they pick up a guy who's a year older than him and they're saying, okay, we're going to keep this guy around and carry 3 goaltenders because we like this guy so much, and you're playing in Rochester and didn't really get a legitimate chance to win a starting job or even be on the NHL roster because they signed Alex Lyon, that tells you as much as they will protest at this statement, Devin Levi may have played his last game as a Buffalo Sabre already.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. The last part about the Sabres, though, and I'm not surprised about this, and I know Mike isn't, Zach Benson is the real deal.
Oh,
like he is. He's such a smart player. He knows the game of hockey. That's the thing that's so good about him.
I thought it was a mistake to carry him on the roster as an 18-year-old. I thought it would have been better to send him to the WHL, but now he's sort of a fully formed NHLer, Russ. He defensively, he's feisty. He fights for pucks. He's not a big guy, but offensively, he's got phenomenal vision. He's on the first power play. He's on the top line with Kulich and Thompson. You know, this is a keeper. I mean, this is a guy who, they were lucky that he won the job instead of Matthew Savoy. And if you look at Matthew Savoy and Isaac Howard and Edmonton, folks, 17 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. That's not what the Oilers needed.
No, that's fair. And Zach Benson knows how to make mini donuts. I've never forgotten that.
So we were aware of this then. So Zach Benson is a known hockey knower, and he's a known. What was that other thing you said he just did?
He makes mini donuts because
he's a known mini donut maker.
Yes.
Does he? But he doesn't make turnovers, right?
No. His family is into the carnival stuff, so his job was to make the mini donuts at the carnival.
I got you. I know.
To make the donuts.
Do they make fried Oreos too?
I mean, I don't think. I mean, he might. He only talked about mini donuts. Mike could ask him.
Listen, we were trying to work in the food take here before we close things out here.
I'm gonna stop the show. I got to go take my glucosamine and chondroitin.
That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.
And MSN.